We don't have time for an intro today. Damian Lillard just got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks out of nowhere. Oh my goodness gracious. I was not expecting Damian Lillard to get moved to the Bucks. I was sitting in this chair last night recording the next over-under episode, and I was talking about the Southeast Division, which included the Miami Heat. And in the middle of that video, obviously, we all know Miami is where we all thought Damian Lillard was going to end up being traded, but instead he ends up in Milwaukee, but we thought he was going to end up in Miami. So in the video I was talking about how my prediction for the Miami Heat basically all hindered on if they made a trade for Damian Lillard, because it seemed like that was going to be the case. It seemed so inevitable that Lillard was going to South Beach. And in the video, I said, full disclosure, I've saved this video and the next division video for last because of the whole Damian Lillard thing. I have a feeling that there's going to be some type of recording jinx where as soon as I upload these videos that Damian Lillard is going to get traded. So yeah, apparently even after 4 preview episodes and some occasional podcasts last season, the recording curse applies for me. So woohoo, congratulations to me, I guess. I don't know. This is unbelievable. Let's take a look at the trade. A 3-team blockbuster trade, really, as the Phoenix Suns came in here. Let's get started. The Bucks, of course, getting Damian Lillard. The Portland Trail Blazers, in return for their best player in franchise history, they get DeAndre Ayton, Drew Holiday, Tamani Kamara, and a 2029 unprotected first-round pick via Milwaukee, as well as a Bucks pick swap. I don't believe that the year was specified. More details may have come out since the trade. And then the Phoenix Suns step in here, and they get Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. So we've got a lot going on in this trade. Of course, we have to start with the Bucks getting Damian Lillard. It was just a couple days ago, or really the last week, where Giannis Antetokounmpo basically straight up said, if the organization and him weren't on the same page as far as wanting to win and getting good enough players on that team in order to compete for, a championship, he might look to go to a different team and go to that more winning situation. And the Bucks, they get the guy he wanted. Giannis, when you think about guys that Giannis has praised and wanted to play with overall these past few years, the number one guy that was really coming up was Damian Lillard, and that's exactly who the Bucks got. And the Bucks now have a stacked roster up top. We can get to their depth in a little bit, but a starting lineup including Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez. That is unbelievable. That's 4 all-star caliber players in the lineup, and you may look at me like I'm crazy. Damian Lillard just had one of the best statistical years of his career, if not the best statistical year of his career last year for the Blazers. Giannis, we all know Giannis. You could make a case that he's the best player in basketball. I believe he's number 2, number 3. You know what? I'd say number 2. I'd say only one above him is Jokic, but then it's Giannis for me. You got Chris Middleton, who is an all-star caliber player. He was just injured for most of last year. And then Brook Lopez is a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, one of the best shot-blocking bigs in the league. And last year, to start the year, he was definitely an all-star candidate for that Milwaukee Bucks team. As I get a notification from Twitter. Okay, nothing more about the trade. So Milwaukee, of course, their depth is going to be their biggest question. The other guys on their roster, they still have Bobby Portis off their bench, which is going to be good. They got Malik Beasley this offseason. Pat Connaughton's on their bench. He could start for them maybe. Jay Crowder's there. Marjon Beauchamp. But, let's talk a little bit about what they had to give up. They gave up Drew Holiday, who is an incredible player and a perfect fit next to Giannis. with his elite defense and how much he's improved as an offensive player and his three-point shooting. Last year, he was an all-star for the first time in 10, 11 years, back when he was with the 76ers. And then Grayson Allen was their starting shooting guard, and yeah, he may have made that terrible play at the end of Game 5 that ended their season on that last play, but he has been someone that has always been reliable to make three-point shots and be a gritty, physical, hard defender. And now, of course, people may say he's a dirty player. I think he just plays hard. I think back in college was when he was really a dirty player. I think he's handled that a lot better in his professional career, and he's turned out to be a pretty solid player. So, him going to the Suns, that's great for him. It's great for the Suns, but we'll get to them a little bit later. The Milwaukee Bucks, they have to be one of the top two favorites once again in the Eastern Conference. I know when I was talking about them in my own over-under video, I had put them on the under because I felt like because of what happened in the playoffs last year, when they were the 1 seed, that I was in the mindset that they might look to take a step back to prepare for the playoffs so that they don't have a repeat of last year. But the acquisition of Damian Lillard, I think even if they took a chill pill for the season, I think they could still go over on their wins. But man, this is definitely right back up to being a championship contending team and one of the best in the league, if not the best team in the league. The Milwaukee Bucks, man, just Damian Lillard and Giannis. You've got two 30-point per game scorers from last year on this team, and this is just going to be so much fun to watch. And I hope that this team can stay healthy, man, because like I said, with the lack of depth really and the lack of a great bench, if one of those starting 5 guys gets injured, it may not be that great for them in the playoffs, because all those key guys are going to mean a ton for this Milwaukee Bucks team. But so kudos to the Bucks for sweeping in and getting this deal. I was talking with someone today, about this trade, and this gives me very similar vibes to a deal that went down similar time last season when Donovan Mitchell was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Everyone was like, okay, he's going to the Knicks. It's all New York. No one else is really in the picture. Then you had a couple day stretch where, okay, they're talking a little bit with Washington, a little bit with Cleveland, a little bit with Miami. And then he ended up in Cleveland, and that was a out of left field spot. For the NBA fans, no one thought that Donovan Mitchell was going to get traded to Cleveland. Same thing happened here. Everybody thought that Damian Lillard would end up going to the Miami Heat. And, these last couple days we started getting reports, okay, Chicago's interested. Toronto is a little interested. They could use a point guard. We were talking, they have pieces that they could give the Blazers. Toronto might be the move. And then the Milwaukee Bucks just swoop in and they acquire one of the best players of this generation in Damian Lillard. So just kudos to the Milwaukee Bucks, man. A terrific move for them. I know a lot of people are saying that the loss of Drew Holiday is going to be big, and yes, obviously he's a great player. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. And like I said, his offense has really improved, his playmaking. He's become a really good player. But Damian Lillard is definitely a lot better. Damian Lillard is a superstar. He's a top 75 player for a reason, and he's arguably in his prime right now. Last year he put up a 71-point game. He put up a 60-point game. He put up incredible numbers for the Blazers. They just didn't have a good team. But that was not because of Damian Lillard. He's done all that he could for that Portland Trail Blazers team. And, you get Lillard, who I think is in the prime of his career. Giannis, I think he's in the prime of his career. You could argue that being on both ends of looking at both sides of the floor, that Brook Lopez is in his prime, even at this late age of his career. It's just a heck of a deal for Milwaukee. Now, will it work? We shall see. I think that Lillard will fit amazingly with Giannis. I just think about you look at the Bucks point guard arc in this retool or in this contention Giannis era. When they first had Giannis and they were first like really starting to compete, when it was Giannis, Middleton, Jabari Parker, Greg Monroe, you had like Matthew Dellavedova, who was their point guard. Then you get a steal, you get Malcolm Brogdon, he gets Rookie of the Year. Okay, that's very, very good. Then you see that he's a very good off-ball player, and you still want another point guard. Okay, so then you acquire Eric Bledsoe, who was a very good player on both ends. Then if that didn't work a few years later, you get Drew Holiday. You win a championship with Drew Holiday as your starting point guard, and now you get Damian Lillard. I mean, the point guard, they have definitely come a long way, Milwaukee has, from when they had Michael Carter-Williams and Jared Bayless and Matthew Dellavedova as their core point guards. Now you got one of the best players of all time. I could go on and on about this Milwaukee Bucks team. I think that they're going to do well. Of course, with any new team, it may take them some time to gel, especially since, you traded away your backcourt with Lillard and Allen. Holiday and Allen, excuse me. So I think even if it takes some time, I mean, they are definitely set up beautifully for the playoffs. Damian Lillard, for the first time in his career, is on a championship contending team, and he is going to flourish in that role. Now let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers. They get DeAndre Ayton, Drew Holiday, the Bucks first-round pick, and the pick swap. I think this is a very solid return for Damian Lillard when, if you're the Blazers, you really didn't have much leverage. You knew Damian Lillard wanted to get traded. You knew he wanted to get traded to Miami. Now, what package was the better package between this Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton one and the Tyler Hero young prospects and draft picks? Which one's better? You can argue whatever one you think is better. I think that this is a very solid move for the Blazers. You get DeAndre Ayton, who he's not going to have, as much pressure as he did in Phoenix. Or, not pressure, I should say as much eyes on him as he did in Phoenix, because Phoenix has been one of the best teams in the league over the last few years, so people are obviously going to look at him to play super well, and when he doesn't play well, he's going to get scrutinized. But on the Blazers, who are now in a rebuild, you've got a core of Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, and DeAndre Ayton, and Jeremy Grant is still there at the 4. I think that that's a very solid starting 5. Now, of course, Drew Holiday got traded to the Blazers. They're going to look to reroute him to another team. Where will that be? We don't know. I mean, there's already the Miami. Miami's already in the picture again. I mean, imagine if Miami ended up just giving that package to Portland for Drew Holiday and they got Hero anyway. Or the Blazers got Hero anyway. I think that'd be hilarious. But I think it's more likely that it ends up, that Drew Holiday ends up going back to where he started his career with the Philadelphia 76ers, and James Harden gets rerouted to the Clippers, and then the Blazers can send some of their young players as well to the Sixers to make up for the lack of prospects that the Clippers do not have that they would have to return in the James Harden trade. So, Drew Holiday is definitely going to be a hot commodity around the league. I mean, he might be the most valuable piece that is on the trade market right now. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, but the Blazers are looking good, man. I don't know if they are still in the mood of like wanting to make a play-in run or if they want to rebuild. I think that they should just play and whatever happens, happens. You've got a young core set with all those guys I just mentioned. I think you just run with those 5 guys, and you see what happens for the season. Now, you may not end up with much success, but at the very least, you're going to have a very fun, entertaining team. There's not a whole lot of defense on that team. I know Matisse Thybulle's on that team, but Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson with DeAndre Ayton inside. I mean, you're not going to have a ton of defense if you're the Portland Trailblazers. But I think, at the very least, this is going to be a fun team to watch. And we're going to get to see DeAndre Ayton flourish, hopefully, in this new role, with Portland. So I think that this is a very solid return for Portland. With all the guards that you already have, I don't think there was a total need for you to just trade for a bunch of draft picks. I think that this is about as good as they could have done, especially because Yusuf Nurkic going to Phoenix. I think that Yusuf Nurkic is a guy that definitely, even if he wasn't on the trade market for several years, he's a guy that I've always thought should be on a different team because he's always a double-double machine. He could help out some other team that wants to win, and that's going to end up being the Phoenix Suns. Let's get to the Suns. The Suns, even maybe more unexpectedly than the Bucks getting look. The Suns swoop in, and they deal Ayton to Portland, and they get back Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Now, Nasir Little, to me, I think could be a big piece in this deal for the Suns. I know we look at the Suns' new big three, Beal, Booker, and Durant, and then now Nurkic at the 5, that final starting 5 spot at the 3 is kind of up for grabs, really, at the last forward spot. We've talked about Josh Okogie. I've talked about Keita Bates-Diop. Nasir Little is definitely a guy that has shown some flashes in his first few years, and he could be the guy that gets minutes for the Suns there. I think that that's a good move. Grayson Allen being off the bench for the Suns, you can never have enough three-point shooting, and that is something that the Suns are going to have, especially when you look at those 3 main guys with Beal, Booker, and Durant. All those guys can shoot the 3, but those guys are all lethal mid-range isolation scorers, so those 3 guys may not get a whole lot of threes up. That's why you need the Eric Gordons of the world, or the, Grayson Allens of the world, and Damian Lee, Yuta Watanabe. They have a bunch of shooting now, so I think that that's a solid move for Phoenix to get Grayson Allen on their team as well as Nasir Little. So talking about the Nurkic move for the Phoenix Suns, I think that this is good for the Suns to give up Ayton. We knew Ayton was on the trading block, that he was kind of the odd man out of that group. And I think that Nurkic is going to fit well with the Suns, mainly because I don't think he's going to really need a whole lot of post touches. He's a solid playmaker. He's going to be out there to set screens and rebound. Offensively, I think that the Suns, obviously they've got it, but even with Nurkic, I think that Nurkic fits their offensive mindset a lot more than DeAndre Ayton, just because you don't need another guy to throw it into the post. And even Nurkic, if you need him to, he can shoot the 3 a little bit and, stretch the defense out a little bit there. So I think that this trade for all 3 sides was pretty darn good for all those team situations. And man, I am so happy that this finally got figured out, that Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck. Now, who is the biggest loser in all this? It is definitely the Miami Heat, the team not involved in this trade. As I've talked about, and as I'm gonna, you're gonna hear in my over/under video, they did not get better. They did not get better this offseason. They were banking the whole offseason that Damian Lillard was going to end up on their team. And that didn't happen. And their only real additions, it was really just Josh Richardson and Thomas Bryant. That's all they got this offseason. So, it's tough for Miami. We'll see how they end up in the regular season and in the playoffs with a worse roster. But I mean, just for these 3 teams, Milwaukee, Portland, and Phoenix, just a heck of a move there. And it's really amazing to see this. And the East, again, gets better. Now, no team really got worse in order for this to happen, but Milwaukee just jumped right back up into title contention. If you thought that they were done after the first round loss last year, no chance. This team is going to be in it to win it this year, and they definitely have a great chance, man. They definitely have a great chance. But I think that's really all I have to say on this trade. I hope you enjoyed this video and this first ever emergency video really on this trade. Leave your opinions and thoughts on this move in the comments below. I want to see what you guys are all thinking about the biggest deal of the offseason. And you know, I'm super excited for this season, man, especially more with this trade. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, a like would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe for more NBA content. Tomorrow morning I will post that Southeast Division over/under video. But I'm your host, Miles. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.